Latina born and raised in Minnesota. I am the first in my family to be born in the United States, and I'm also a first-generation college graduate. Thank you. My parents and my large extended familia are from Mexico. Most of my family worked in meat and potato factories, in construction, as cooks and cleaners. Their lives reflect the reality of many Latinos. Nationwide, 78% of Latino-eligible voters are working class. As the eldest daughter in my immediate family, and the eldest niece in my extended family, I was the bridge builder, tasked with the responsibility of helping my family navigate a new country. I translated at appointments and reviewed job applications. I supported my cousins with their homework. When I turned 18, I made sure we learned about the importance of voting. And to this day, they come to me to discuss their political choices. Growing up, my family and I engaged in movidas. By that, I mean what Dr. Tomás Ibarro Frausto defines as an environment always on the edge of falling apart. The car, the job, the toilet. Things are held together with spit, grit, and movidas. Movidas are the coping strategies to gain time, to make options, and to retain hope. When my family didn't have the credit to obtain loans, they formed tandas, money lending circles, with each other and trusted community members. When their wages were stolen by their employers due to their immigration status, they found lawyers who helped them get their wages back. My family then went ahead and helped fellow workers who faced similar exploitation. When the pandemic struck, it was my stepmother, Yvonne, a cleaner who was raising my sisters, ages 12 and 7, who was studying to become a nurse associate, who noticed a heartbreaking trend among her coworkers. Many of those dying of COVID-19 were leaving behind families struggling to afford funeral costs. Neither her union nor a government fund would address the issue. So she took it upon herself to do something about it by creating a mutual aid fund to support those families. I repeatedly witnessed the ingenuity of my familia as they crafted solutions to our shared challenges outside of traditional systems of support. Not because that was the desire, but because it is what this country requires of them. Right now, in pivotal and small ways, many of us feel a sense of loss as we reckon with the reality that the foundations of US democracy, which many of us believe to be impenetrable, are weaker than we understood. As human beings who will experience the upcoming presidential election, I know many of you in this room no longer feel like casting a vote is enough of an action to address the issues we face. As people who wish to make the world a better place and to live with dignity, we must ask ourselves a fundamental question, the fundamental question at the heart of our democracy. What should we do? A question that, when asked and acted upon, activates our agency. Agency. As defined by political scientist Peter Levine, agency is our ability to answer and act on the answer to the question, what should we do? The we in the question gives the ownership and responsibility each of us has in our democracy. It is both an act of commitment and of agency. My family exercises agency every time they choose to ask this question and act on it, not as individuals, but as a we. In doing so, they accept the responsibility of collaborative problem solving, generating solutions that extend beyond themselves, and persevering through systemic barriers and constant uncertainty. The tenacity I observe in my familia of paving a way forward when there is no roadmap isn't just an act of survival. It is movidas, it is agency. We all have something to learn from an agency exercise under such uncertainty, because the reality is that we are all facing new levels of uncertainty. We're uncertain about the future of our democracy. Only 1 in US adults approve of the way democracy is working in our country. As an organizer and a strategist for Mi Gente, a national political Latino organization, I co-led the largest voter mobilization program in North Carolina during the 2020 presidential election, a feat we accomplished during the pandemic and despite limited resources being dedicated to engaging Latino voters. During my time at Mi Gente, I quickly realized that the lack of investment that I experienced for Latinos in North Carolina was a reflection of a nationwide historical neglect of Latinos in our own democracy. 36 million Latinos are projected to vote this November, accounting for nearly 15% of the overall population. Contrary to what you see in the media or assume because we aren't covered, we are not a monolithic group who only care about immigration. I repeatedly spoke with Latino voters all over the country who cared about many things, and many who had never been contacted before. Nearly 17 million Latinos voted in the 2020 presidential election, a 31% increase from 2016. Yet a nationwide poll revealed that most Latinos hadn't heard from any political party within 3 months of that election. Latinos are constantly overlooked in their own country. Our voter registration lags behind other racial groups, hindering political participation. We are drastically underrepresented in the media, limiting our ability to tell our own stories and shape public perception. Latinos are disproportionately targeted by misinformation, making us more likely to share and consume false news. I saw firsthand how Latinos responded to this level of neglect. They were moving with the same movidas and agency as my familia. Why? Because they've had to ask and respond to an additional question. What do you do when the political system you are required to engage in doesn't engage you? I saw it in the movidas of women who, like my stepmother, created their own mutual aid networks across the country to address issues others wouldn't, supported by grassroots organizations. This momentum contributed to a historic voter mobilization led by Mi Gente and local Latino organizers. In only 8 weeks, we contacted every single Latino voter in the state for the 2020 Georgia Senate runoff. Although Latinos represent 19% of the overall US population and are experiencing the fastest population growth in the country, right here in North Dakota, our country is in a perpetual state of discovering us. This isn't a feeling, this is a fact. So I'll go back to the question we started with. What should we do? If democracy is a process of forging a way forward as a community, then our democracy is only as strong as its ability to ensure its people are heard, able, and willing to participate. If you don't feel heard, why would you bother to participate? Those of us who are participating in our democracy are questioning whether individually voting or donating is enough. We yearn for connection. We yearn for a collective voice to shape a shared future. We yearn for a collective we, a stronger we in our democracy. But how do we cultivate this we? One that can rise to meet the challenges we face as a nation. We activate our collective agency, our movidas, an agency bold enough to face uncertainty, an agency capable of expanding and creating new forms of participation in our democracy. We can start by recognizing the protagonism Latinos can have in helping us realize this vision. I'd like to introduce you to the Movida Initiative, a democracy school for Latino agency. The Movida Initiative will be a set of community-owned centers located across the Midwest, dedicated to revealing Latino agency and connecting it to a political identity that asserts our protagonism in our democracy. Rather than solely focusing on providing a civics education, the Movida Initiative will establish a political baseline for Latinos by demonstrating to them that the agency they already exercise is a capacity we all need to find a way forward in our democracy. The Movida Initiative will center connection and innovation by supporting community-driven initiatives in things like cooperatives and small business development, art and cultural events, community narratives, and media. By investing in an agency that translates into democracy capacity building and creating the media platforms to broadcast it, Latinos become a decisive constituency, capable of enacting change for the greater good. In many ways, I have felt like an outsider in my own country. Growing up, I remember feeling too Latina and too poor to have big dreams. When I entered mainstream politics, I was told I was too naive, too idealistic, and picking the wrong fights. As a confident woman, I am told I am too much for wanting to change the world alongside my community, and I'm far too outspoken. But I am responsible for building bridges, which requires me to speak out. Our democracy is in danger. The traditional roles we have been designated are not enough. It is time we become the protagonists of our democracy. I am asking you to join me in doing so, because it is not too much to want to become these protagonists together. Please join me in my community so that we can transform our democracy. Our future depends on it.